Ready? Okay, let's talk about Chapter 7, Part 1. In Chapter 7, you're going to learn how to add employees and then run a manual payroll. So, with manual payroll, if you were doing this out in the real world, you would have to be using some tax tables that come from the IRS and actually calculating the payroll for yourself. If you want to learn a ton of detail about doing payroll and maybe you want to work for a payroll, excuse me, a payroll service company, there's payroll classes that you can take where the whole semester is just focused on payroll. For many of us that want to just be general accountants, sometimes we don't feel the need to take a payroll class, but if you are interested in a payroll class, because maybe it sounds fun to you, there are payroll classes offered at other schools like Century. At Century College, for example, there's both in-person and online payroll classes, and you learn a lot about laws related to payroll, state and federal laws. You get really detailed into all the taxes and filing all the tax forms. So in this class, we're just covering how we're going to do it on QuickBooks. So it's very simple, but just know that there are these other options that exist. Okay, so for Chapter 7, Part 1, just like every chapter, you're going to read everything that's in the book, following along with exactly what they're going to ask you to do. And then when you get to the end, what I want you to turn in and check is you're going to get to page 134, where you're going to run a trial balance. And remember that when you're working in the test database, just use today's date. No need to, change to the dates that they're using in the book, because that'll actually screw you up sometimes. So the numbers that I want to match from this trial balance, not every number is going to match, because remember, there's always transactions being added into the test database. But the numbers that I care about is you should have a checking account balance of a credit. So remember, the checking account is an asset account. Its normal balance is a debit. So it's actually kind of silly. I think that they have the test database set up in such a way that you could go in and run only or process a few transactions and then actually be negative in your checking account. But do know that this is technically a negative balance in your checking account, but for our purposes, we don't care. So this needs to be the balance of your checking account, it needs to be a credit. And then the other number I want you to check is your payroll tax payable. That number should also match exactly, and it should also be a credit balance. So I want you to turn in that trial balance, turn it in as a PDF rather than Excel. And then the one other thing that I would like you to do for Part 1 is answer these questions right here. And then that's it. That's it for Chapter 7, Part 1.